I just got off work and I had a thought. One of the things that I think is a huge issue when it comes to us men is pride and ego. Um, Pride and ego have started wars, have started all kinds of conflict, have cost a lot of life, and a lot of time is behind pride and ego. And I think one of the things that we as men have got to get in check is our pride and our ego. Because there's always this thing where it's like a competition about everything. I got to prove that I'm better than you. I got to prove that I'm tougher than you. I got to prove, there's a lot of times stuff that we could just let slide, but pride and ego won't allow it to slide because, there's a point to prove, and we've got to get to the point where, you know, we're not so, and if we're being honest, the real root behind pride and ego is insecurity. If you really just we're just honest, if we boil it all the way down, if somebody, let's just say if you're out on the street and somebody calls you a name, and now you want to fight, why? I mean, unless that's what you are and you're upset about it, but if you're not, why do you care? If you truly were a confident person, the name that someone calls you or what they said about you or what they think about you, it really wouldn't matter. Because the whole thing is if you know better, somebody could call me any name in the book. I'm probably not going to respond. And the reason being is because if I know it's not true, you can call me anything you want to. That doesn't change facts. I know who I am and I know where I stand. And I think that it takes a lot of work to get to the point where you feel like you got nothing to prove. Um, but that pride and ego a lot of times is based in insecurity. And I think that if we ever get a hold of our insecurities, if we ever fix that, we can fix a lot. If we just get insecurity in check. And I think that's a huge, huge, huge issue we have is we are very insecure because because we will literally go to bed and can't sleep over what somebody called us. And the question is if is it true? Because I don't understand the reaction. Why react to something that's not true unless you believe it is? Usually what happens is when somebody says something to us or about us, usually the reason why there's a reaction is because they struck a chord. They hit a nerve. They hit something that either is something that we're still damaged or we got trauma in that area, or they hit on something that's true that we don't want to acknowledge. Those are the two reasons why we respond that way. And I think the pride and the ego are cover ups for insecurity. The more secure you are, the less you feel like you need to prove. The more secure you are, the less you respond to nonsense. The more secure you are, the less you even care about what somebody thinks, feels, or does. It really doesn't matter because you know better. If somebody comes up to me and say, if I wanted to, I could knock your head off. I may smile because I think it's funny, but am I going to say, well, you better try it? Why? No need. Because if you do try it, you'll find out. It won't. There'll be no need to guess. You'll know. So you didn't try it. It was only a threat. Well, I tell you what, we can leave it right there. If you don't know what I would do because you didn't do it. So now we don't have to know it all. We can just leave it right there. We can leave it at a threat. You made a threat and you kept walking, but keep on walking. That's all. You did exactly what you should have did. You kept going. And that's what needs to happen a lot of times. A lot of conflicts can be avoided if we just stop being so sensitive and so moved by everything that someone says or what someone does. You got to learn to look over stuff. And the more secure you are, the less intimidated you are by another person. There would be a lot of these conflicts and issues, they would stop. So, you know, I would say set your pride and ego aside, but it's hard to do that if you're insecure. And the root of a lot of that is insecurity. So what I would have to say is that you got to work on those insecurities, because the more secure you are, the less you feel like you need to prove. You're not worried about proving nothing, because you know what you can do if you have to. So, if somebody doesn't believe it, what does that do to you? If somebody thinks something about you, believes something about you, and it's not true, but they believe it wholeheartedly. Well, if they didn't do what they needed to do to find out, why do you even care? Keep wondering. Keep on thinking. We never got to find out. So, get your insecurity up. Not up, but get it in check. Get your insecurity in check, so that pride and ego can die. And I think once that dies, I think we as men will be better leaders. We won't be reacting to a lot of stuff that we don't need to react to. We'll have less to prove, and we can lead from a place of security rather than insecurity, and that will help a whole lot of people in our circles, our family, friends, our other children, whoever it is that depends on you. It'll help a lot of that. You just got to get past the pride and ego. So I was just got in, and I just had that on my mind, so I wanted to make this video and just talk a little bit about that, because that was just something that was on my mind. So hopefully you'll take heed to it, take care of that insecurity, and be a better man for the people in your circle. That's all I got. I'm out.